Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine, and today we are welcome with TNA Knockout, Miss Dani Luna. How we doing, man?
Hi, doing great. Thank you for having me.
Uh, it's been a day. I'm excited to have you on here. Just to start, this is the I Love Wrestling podcast. I want to know, how did you fall in love with professional wrestling?
Oh, good question. I actually fell in love with wrestling. I feel like quite late for a
Okay.
child. Anyway, I was about 13, 14. And my big brother used to love it. And eventually I feel like I was off sick from school or something. And obviously in the UK, it's on at a silly hour in the morning, about 3 a.m. Um, So I was just kind of feeling sorry for myself on the sofa. And Monday Night Raw was on. So I just watched it and had no idea what it was prior to that, other than the odd action figure that I knew he owned. And yeah, I got hooked. And I feel within about 6 to 8 months, I was already training to be a pro wrestler because I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I didn't have anything else that really called to me like that. So I just went full ham straight from the get-go and kind of haven't stopped. And I still love it just as much as I did back then.
Perfect. Has your love for it changed at all?
I guess in a details way it has, in the way that I look at it as a performer is slightly different. But I feel like I'm also pretty good at managing to separate the two. I can still very much get lost in incredible pro wrestling, and I'd be really sad if I ever kind of lost that and got a bit too kind of grizzled about it. But I really do think it's still the most incredible thing in the world. And being able to go to shows like we have at TNA and sit backstage or sneak out into the crowd and have that feeling again where you get lost in it is just so incredible. And I'm very lucky to be able to witness that firsthand so often.
Definitely. I've heard in other interviews and things like that, you started around 15, 16-ish training.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you training as a, teenage female inside the UK indie scene?
It's quite common actually in the UK. Everyone kind of starts real young. I don't know if I think there's just more rules in America, and I don't think the UK have caught up to the rules yet. But yeah, it wasn't that uncommon. I don't even think I was the youngest in my class, to be honest.
Okay.
But everyone was very accepting straight away. I never had any sort of kind of weird environments. There was other girls there, so I felt very comfortable from the get-go. But yeah, I just kind of went at it. More so, it was weird as just going to school,
Okay.
during the week, covered in bruises, and no one knows what's wrong with me. There was a lot of like safeguarding issues. I had to be like, no, I swear, I'm just rolling around on the floor. Um, but no, it was great. I feel like it helped me grow up a lot as a young adult. And having something that's kind of followed me throughout my whole life now into adulthood is really cool. And I've got to kind of grow up with it and alongside it and make friends that are also growing up through it. And, I think that's awesome.
How did like your parents and even your siblings like kind of cope with you getting into the world of wrestling?
Um, well, I definitely originally lied to my parents for sure. Um, I explained it more as like a gymnastics type thing,
Okay.
because that felt more acceptable. And then over time, I was like, there's no gymnastics involved. I'm just a pro wrestler. But even then, they were pretty sound. They didn't really get it or understand why, but I was happy and I was busy, so they were there to support me. My big brother obviously is the reason I started wrestling, so he's always been super supportive and thinks it's really cool. And they've all been able to watch me wrestle quite a lot, which is lovely. The dream is to, get them over here and get them to watch me on TNA. That would be incredible. So yeah, they've been super, super supportive, and that's the most you can ask for with such a silly job, I suppose.
Absolutely. Uh, so at 19, you get signed to the WWE for NXT UK. What was going through your mind being that young, getting your first, big contract with some would argue the biggest company out there at the time?
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. I got put forward for the tryout and I originally didn't get it. I got put forward by Mark Andrews and Wellbore, my Kitchman, who were in NXT UK at the time.
Mhm.
And they were my coaches, so they were like, you can definitely do this trial. They want girls, we put you forward. And I originally didn't get it, but I was a backup. If somebody else pulled out or got injured, they could put me in. Um, and then a few days before, I got an email being like, "Hey, welcome to the tryout," and I was like, "I guess I'm doing it." So I just went and I just did my best, and I really didn't think anything would come from it. But um, yeah, it all worked out, and next thing you know, I'm signed to the WWE at 19 years old. So it was awesome. I was there for 3 years and I learned so much in that time, training under some of the best coaches in the world and surrounded by some of the best wrestlers in the world. So it was great. And I feel like it really helped kind of push me into that next level of my career that I then needed to achieve now in TNA. And I felt like I could then go into TNA a much more rounded wrestler than I was before WWE.
That kind of leads me into my next question. It's kind of a two-parter. Do you think you were ready when you got signed for that platform? And how do you think NXT UK developed you and prepared you for TNA?
Good question. Um, no, I don't necessarily think I was ready. I think I was physically capable enough and ability wise, I think I was ready, but ultimately I was very much still a child. And that's such a big, scary world to be thrown into, and suddenly Shawn Michaels is my boss is such a crazy thing to go through at that age. And I think more so that I just was very kind of passive. I'd go to training, I'd do what I was asked, and I was very easy to work with, but I feel like I didn't necessarily have anything about me yet because I was still just a very blank slate of a wrestler. So I feel like that helped kind of being there kind of helped build me up to become the Dani Luna that I am today. And then I feel like leaving WWE and then having some time on the indies to grow as well really created the wrestler that I actually am today, and someone that very much believes in what I put out there and what I present to the world that I now get to show on TNA every week. So I feel like I wouldn't be the wrestler I am without all these things happening. And even if it feels terrible at the time to be released from WWE, I knew that it was going to turn me into something better and something more valuable, which I feel like I am now.
How did you cope with something like that, losing your job your dream job, let's say? How did you cope with that being so young?
Honestly, it was almost made better by the fact that it happened to a lot of us. It happened
Okay.
to a lot of my friends. It all happened at the same
Yeah.
time. Um, and at no point was I ever worried that that was it.
Mhm.
I was so young still. I still had so much to give. I still had so much to learn. Um, I knew I was going to figure it out. And all I knew is to work really hard. So I just started doing that. I started trying to make myself as marketable and bookable as possible and just kept at it, and now I'm in a position where I feel like I'm valued very well for what I give to the world. And yeah, it's awesome. You got to kind of take stuff like that in stride. I think if you let it kind of beat you, then you're never going to come back, but ultimately wrestling is really fun. So I just try to keep staying on that side of the line for sure.
I love it. So before you get signed with TNA, you're already doing matches with them. How are you
Mhm.
feeling when that contract was actually given to you and offered?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made it less shocking because I had worked with them a good bit and I feel like I'd done well. So I felt like I was in good standing no matter what. But also, I lived in the UK, I didn't feel like the most signable professional wrestler. I felt like maybe that would have been a bit more of a bargaining from my side to say, hey, sign this girl that lives on the other side of the world and get her a visa and all that sort of stuff. And but they wanted it, and it was such a that more than anything was such a compliment to me. And such an honor that they would want to invest that much into me. And they seen that much potential in me. I'd never really felt picked like that before, I guess. So that was awesome. And I feel like it put us off on a really good standing. I'm almost really glad that I got to do a little bit for them before being signed. So that as I got signed and then went into my kind of debut as a signed TNA wrestler, that they knew what they were dealing with. Everybody already started to learn who Dani Luna was, and it didn't feel as kind of aggressive and off the bat.
Yeah. How is signing with TNA changed your everyday life?
Well, I mean, massively to the sense that I'm a full-time professional wrestler now. I juggled a job and wrestling for a very long time. And being able to just commit completely to my craft and to, being the best wrestler I can be is such an honor. And being able to travel the world and see all these places and wrestle in all these places is, such a dream and something that people from the UK really don't get to do very often. I'd say it's maybe one in a very big pool of incredibly talented wrestlers that even get this opportunity. So I count myself very lucky for being one of those that's able to kind of break out of that scene and now wrestle over here and all over the world.
You kind of started your TNA journey as a contractor wrestler off big with Ultimate X. What was that match like for you? And do you think that opportunity helped you set the bar for what you bring to the table within TNA?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first of all, so scary. The highest thing in the world. Don't know if I ever want to do one again. Um, but I do think it was a very good challenge to kind of start off with and kind of test you of like how much are you willing to give to this? Like how much does this mean to you? I believe it was also the opening match of the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. So that felt like a lot of pressure. I know all the girls I was in there with felt that pressure too. And I feel like we just wanted to deliver. It was the first TNA pay-per-view since we'd gone back to TNA again. And there was so many things contributing to that environment. But yeah, it just felt electric. And I feel like I went out there and I showed exactly who Dani Luna was and exactly where I wanted to start and give a full, this is who I am and how can we level up from here. And I feel like I've done an okay job since then.
I mean, definitely. You are a two-time former Knockouts Tag Team Champion, which I mean, listening to you in other interviews and other outlets, you've expressed how that was a goal of yours when you came into TNA. How did it feel to be able to achieve that goal not only once but twice alongside Jody Threat?
Yeah, I mean, so incredible to be able to, hold a championship in such a, historically driven company with so many fantastic champions in the past. Like to even be on the same roster page as some of those people is incredible. But being able to get to do it with Jody was the best part of it all. Like we became best friends way before either of us got signed to TNA. So our paths kind of meeting up there and then meeting up again. And the fact that we started tagging together to then winning the championships together was such a wonderful journey to go on. And it made it a lot less scary as somebody that was, flying in from the other side of the world. I didn't really know anyone, but to be able to go out there with someone that I trust and somebody that I really care about and just do what we know we can do really well, made it a lot less daunting and a lot more fun. So to be able to be, two-time knockouts tag team champions with Jody was the best. And she's so talented. And I can't wait to see what she does now with the rest of her career also.
Absolutely. Your Spitfire kind of ended on not on your guys' terms, which usually tag teams, I guess, don't. But do you ever see you guys getting back together to bring Spitfire, whether that's in TNA potentially or even elsewhere?
I mean, I hope so. I hope there's a way we can kind of get back on the same page and put it together. I mean, she's so talented, and I feel like we have very similar mindsets and similar brains in the way that we think about wrestling and the wrestling that we do. So I feel like we really brought the best out of each other. And I would love to run it back at some point. I got I've got bigger fish to fry right now, but maybe in the future there could be a lovely Spitfire reunion, and that would be very, very fun.
Absolutely. So we are just after coming out of the biggest TNA pay-per-view of all time, Bound for Glory. Um, what did that pay-per-view mean to your career so far? And what was it like for you entering that Call Your Shot gauntlet?
Yeah, it was my first TNA pay-per-view, I feel like as a very just Dani Luna, you know. I feel like me and Jody had done a bunch, and it was the first one where all the spotlight was just on me. And that was a lot of pressure, especially also being the biggest crowd we've had in North American history in TNA is lots of different pressure coming at you from all sides. And all I knew is that I had to show everybody exactly who I was. And I feel like I did a good job of that in the Pull Shot Gauntlet and being able to go in there and there's not many times you get to mix it up with so many of the boys as well, like so many talented wrestlers that I got to be in with for the 10, 15 minutes that I was out there. And I feel like I did a really good job at showing exactly who I am and exactly what I bring to the table. And I think people liked it. So hopefully more opportunities like that arise and we can all learn what Dani Luna is about.
Absolutely. I think you are only on the rise in your career. Another thing that was very interesting about this Bound for Glory is when we look at the Hall of Fame class, it was three knockouts for, I believe that's the first time ever. I could be wrong. But what was it like as a female seeing the knockout so heavily featured in such a prominent spot on a show like that?
Yeah, it was incredible. I feel like TNA has always been very, persistent with pushing the talent that they have in their women's division, in their knockouts division. And I think the Hall of Fame class proves that not only the women that got inducted, but the women that inducted the women that were being inducted. It was just so many talented women. And I feel like it's such an honor to get to even just share a locker room with them for that one night alone, and get to pick their brains a little bit and, just kind of see where we came from, why are we, what the knockouts stand for. And that was so cool. And it was great to see, them get the respect they deserve and them get the accolades they deserve. And it's something to strive for. Hey, maybe in 30 years we'll be inducting Dani Luna into the TNA Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. One more question, then I'm gonna let you go. We've talked about what you've done so far in TNA, but what's next for you inside the ring? And who are some of the people that you see yourself standing across the ring from?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd be amiss to say that it's not the TNA Knockouts Championship. I think I'm very locked in on that goal right now. I understand I might need to make a couple enemies along the way, but I think that is a sacrifice worth taking. I know me and Indy Hartwell have some unfinished business. Obviously, Kalani's the champion right now. I feel like that would be an incredible matchup also. Um, but even outside of that, I've never got to be very involved in the NXT feud either. I think there's a lot of exciting matchups that there could be along that side of the pond also. So yeah, I'm just really excited to prove myself as a singles wrestler now and see where it takes me and, hopefully take over the world or something, I think.
Absolutely. Danny, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Uh, Before you go, would you like to just let the fans know where they can check you out on social media and maybe where they can catch up with TNA?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can watch TNA every week on TNA Plus on the app. We've got our tickets for Orlando in full sale coming up in November and El Paso, Texas in December. All the tickets for that go on sale on Friday. So you can catch us there in the flesh. Online, obviously, I'm at Dani Luna _pro everywhere. But yeah, super excited to finish off the year strong.
Absolutely. Danny, thank you. And hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.